Born to fail, bred to survive. From these streets to the heights I'll thrive.
Chapter 2. Breaking Free. Independence and Early Hustles. Mid-teens to early 20s. 16 was the year the cage door finally blew off its hinges. I was splitting time between Brooklyn Park High and the cabinet shop, dragging my ass to class mornings, then afternoons covered in sawdust, sanding edges and cleaning glue joints until my fingers bled. 16. The apartment, the snare, and quitting school. Mom's pill problem didn't improve. It got worse. By 16, she was barely functioning half the time, and Dan was long gone. I couldn't watch her spiral from a distance anymore, so I packed up and moved back in with her in Brooklyn, Maryland. The apartment was clean, but small. After a couple months of that chaos, I told her I needed my own space. She rented me the apartment directly below hers, literally the floor underneath. Same building, same roach infestation, same thin walls. I could hear her fall, fight, or cry through the floorboards at 3 a.m. perfect. The place was a shithole. Linoleum peeling off the kitchen floor, brown water that smelled like metal from the tap, roaches to the point you needed to seal everything in a Ziploc bag. Rent was cheap, though, and it was mine. I agreed to pay the rent from my cabinet shop paycheck. I fixed the place up nice, got some used furniture, had my blue drum set in the corner. I got that drum set from the dump, took it to the shop, cleaned it up and re-laminated the shells with a gloss blue, painted the inside white. They were cheap, but looked great. For the first time, I felt like I'd carved out a corner of the world that belonged to me. I'd switched to Brooklyn Park High when I moved. It was closer, rougher, more inner city than Glen Burnie, and it was just a few blocks from the cabinet shop where I started working. Kids were louder, teachers more tired. I didn't care much about classes anymore. I did enough to pass. I was graduating 6 months early anyway, but music class was the one place I looked forward to. I'd been playing drums since I was a kid. Played in the marching band in elementary with my buddy Ray. Our neighbor Mr. Allen in Glen Burnie played drums in the military and taught drums. I took lessons with him for about a year or so. In high school, I kept quiet about it. Still the tall, weird new guy. Then one week, the teacher said everyone had to pick a song and play along. I chose Boston's More Than a Feeling. Counted off, hit the opening fill. The whole room throbbed. Music blasting through the shitty PA, me nailing every beat, fills ripping. Kids crowded the door, peeking in, whispering, "Who the hell is that on drums?" By the end, half the hallway was outside, teacher grinning ear to ear. First time I felt seen. Not the kid with the weird name, not the one calling ambulances for his mom. Just the guy who could play. That week, I borrowed a snare from the school's music room to practice at the apartment. I got permission from the music teacher. So I didn't just steal it. I took it home Friday, figured I'd bring it back Monday. But the weekend flew by and Mom OD'd again. Ambulance, hospital chaos, the usual nightmare. I missed Monday. Tuesday rolls around and cops are pounding on my door like it's a raid. Mom lets them in. "You got a school snare drum in there?" Me, half asleep, rubbing my eyes. "What?" I said. They barge in and see the school snare case. "School says you stole that snare from the music room." "I borrowed it," I said, surprised at the accusation. "Well, they said it was stolen, so we have to. Take you in." Handcuffs clicked before I could even explain. I told them the truth, that I borrowed it with permission, family emergency hit, planned to return it. But they didn't give a damn. That's when I learned about my rights the hard way. Cops had no warrant. I could have refused to let them in, shut the door in their faces, and just returned the damn thing later. But they don't teach you about civil rights in school. No one tells a 16-year-old kid that "open the door" isn't a command you have to obey. I learned that lesson in the school of hard knocks, and it stuck deep. Court was a joke. Judge looked at me like another delinquent. I told the truth. I didn't steal it. Just didn't return it yet. Could have mentioned my mom's addiction, but that felt more shameful than being called a thief. Figured I'd take the hit. People there, including Mom. Judge didn't blink. Guilty. Fine, community service, and even a scared straight session at the prison. Walked out angrier than ever. Next morning I went straight to school, into the principal's office. I'm done. He tried talking me out of it. You're only 6 months from graduation. I looked at him. Well, you guys caused this. If the system can't tell borrowing from stealing, I don't want its diploma. Walked out. Never went back. Got my GED years later, but quitting that day felt like taking my life back. The cabinet shop grind. Lenny and Ted's world, age 16, 18. After quitting school, the cabinet shop swallowed me whole. Old-timer owner, gruff 60-something, chain-smoked in the office, screamed at suppliers on a rotary phone. Real show was his sons, Lenny and Ted, both 30s, running the floor like rock stars lost on the way to the stage. Lenny was quirky, goofy, always laughing at his own jokes, hair a permanent mess, think he was gay. Never asked, never mattered. Just Lenny, the guy who made bad days funny. Killer guitarist. Blasted crack-the-sky riffs on a beat-up acoustic between cuts, singing off-key on purpose to crack us up. Ted was serious. Balding, chubby, quiet until behind a kit. Then a monster. Sticks like pistons, no wasted motion. Groove so tight you felt it in your chest. Original members of Crack the Sky. Baltimore legends. Big in clubs, never broke nationally, but locals knew the name. They were deep into drugs, the nightlife and coke, sneaking off to the upstairs where they would have band practice. Lines on the table between laminate sheets, quick bathroom breaks, eyes wired. Me? Never touched a cigarette, never a drug. I just pretended I didn't notice. One night, Ted flaked on a gig. Drugs, I think. Lenny came to me. Teddy can't make it. Dust off your set and fill in? Hell yes. It was a country band Lenny played in. Amazing. I filled in and killed it. Knew then I'd do something with music someday. But at the shop, when they showed up, they were good. Lenny taught laminate tricks, clan cuts, gluing large sheets fast, no bubbles, no chips. He say with a grin, "See that edge, kid? Rock and roll precision." He was good, careful, but not unnatural like me and Teddy. Ted was different, more experienced. The way he worked made it look simple. Just moving along, fast, deliberate, not careful like Lenny. When Teddy and I were working together, it was a pure rhythm, no small talk. I was no slouch. Been doing this since 5, even showed my shop teacher Mr. Haygood a few things back in high school. When I was in the 9th grade, I was in a cabinet shop competition. I made it to the national finals, but I never showed up. The travel and expenses just were not in the budget, and life was a challenge at the time. Back at the shop, we blasted music on the shop stereo. Guitars screaming over saws whining. Lenny air guitaring mid-job, Ted tapping rhythms with a pencil. They would share gig war stories between glue drying and routing. They were good bosses, too. Paid on time, but the drugs made them unpredictable. One day, Lenny's hands shook so bad he ruined a $400 sheet. Ted covered, blamed the saw. I kept quiet, kept learning. They gave me the foundation for my own shop later. Skills, confidence, knowledge that talent and addiction can coexist without killing each other right away. The orange van crash. The night I quit getting drunk. 17, fresh off quitting school, grinding full-time in the cabinet shop. Plastic laminate specialist, cutting sheets razor sharp, gluing with contact cement that reminded me of those cracked egg commercials about your brain on drugs. Fumes burning eyes if the fan wasn't on. Money was good for a kid my age. Nights were escape. I would cruise Baltimore in my old orange Ford van, beat-up workhorse for hauling materials and tools, rusted fenders, engine growling pissed off. One night alone, I picked up a hitchhiking chick. Cute, talkative, no name remembered. Beer in cup holders, windows down, radio blasting shitty rock. Laughing, flirting, loose. Driving around, I took a wrong turn. There was a pickup parked on the side street. No lights. Dark. Hidden. I clipped it hard. Bang. Headlights shattered. Bumper folded like tinfoil. Heart slammed into my throat. She was yelling, "Go, go, go!" In a panic, I peeled out, made it home shaking. Van still drove, but I don't remember if that chick stayed the night or not. Next morning at shop. Gluing laminate, cement stinging my eyes. I look up and I see two detectives walk in. Suits, badges, no smiles. One holds up a baggie of orange chips. "Is that your van outside?" "Yes," I replied. "These match that van. Looks like you hit a parked pickup last night." Shop went dead quiet. Saws stop. Stares. It was a cop's truck. "Look, he doesn't want to press charges. Just give us your insurance info and you're off the hook." "Yeah, my bad. I took a wrong turn. And when I hit the truck, I panicked. They took my info. No arrest, and nothing ever really came from that. I got lucky on that one." Another lesson learned. That night in my apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling, laminate glue on my clothes, it hit me like a hammer. Alcohol makes people stupid, reckless. I could have killed someone. I realized then excessive drinking was bad. After that, I learned to control, kept to light social drinks, and no more drinking and driving. Best decision ever. Von Catlett. Ending the fists. Mom married Von Catlett after Dan, a prison guard at Baltimore Corrections, a big guy with a badge and a temper. At first he kept together around me. We got along fine, but I could see his temper slip at times. One night I walked in and he had Mom pinned, fist raised, her crying on the floor. I stepped in fast, grabbed his arm. "Get your hands off her, asshole." He spun around, face red. "This has nothing to do with you, and I'm not scared of you." I felt that urge I get when pressed. It's not an urge of flight. It is pure fight. Low and calm, I responded, "I'm not a prisoner. There is no backup coming." He hesitated, eyes flickering, and knew I wasn't bluffing. He backed off, packed a bag, mumbled something about not worth it, and left. Never saw him much after that. Mom stayed messed up, but now I knew. If I saw a bruise, she actually fell. I was starting to learn people suck and family chaos doesn't end, but you can end assholes causing it. Married at 18, Melissa Schultz, 1986-1988. My buddy Dennis Knight lived across the alley. We cruised in his old jalopy I kept running with spit and duct tape. Deal was, I keep it running, and we roll together. Dennis eyed Melissa Schultz. Cute, quiet smile. Brought her home one day. She hung out with me while I fixed car. We started hanging out together, and it did not take long before I stole her away. Mechanics ain't cheap. This one cost him the girl. I felt bad for Dennis, and if I would have known then what I know now, I would have let him have her. We dated 6 months or so. Melissa and I married at 18. No kids, just fights echoing parents' bullshit, yelling, doors slamming at 2 a.m., her calling me controlling, me telling her she needs to let her mother go. It only lasted 2 years. We were just kids playing house. When we separated, I had no regrets, better alone than trapped. I quit at the cabinet shop, time to move out on my own. That shop was my university, but it only lasted a year or so. Dusty, loud, full of rock riffs, glue fumes, cocaine dust. I put in my 2 weeks, and I walked out a professional plastic laminate specialist and convinced drugs and alcohol are bad news. I moved to South Baltimore with Melissa, started my own cabinet shop in a small, rundown warehouse space in Brooklyn close to my mother's apartment. Tools pieced together from years of collecting them. Word-of-mouth customers for custom laminate work. I would spend my days and nights in the shop, air thick with sawdust, radio blasting, sweating, hustling just like those days with Ted and Len. We lived with her mom and sister in old and broken-down row house on William Street, dank alley between East Heath and East Barney. Day's routine: early up, coffee from Light Street / Ford Avenue corner. Her mom loved it. Off to the shop. Long hours. Late nights theme. One night I was working an all-nighter with best friend Ray. No sleep for more than 48 hours. It was winter, and the heat running. You need to keep the shop warm when gluing laminate sheets. There was a bee's nest in the ceiling above the heater, and it was heating up. All of a sudden, bees were dropping into my shirt, and I get stung 4 or 5 times. Being allergic, I started fading. It was probably more lack of sleep than anything. Ray got me in the truck. We raced to Mom's. He was driving crazy. I think he was panicked. I was also thinking, if the reaction to the bees don't kill me, this ride will. We made it to her apartment. Sat on the bed. I was still fading in and out. Then a major seizure hit. Head banging the wall. Body out of control. I felt possessed. After that, I started coming around. That was scary. I never felt so out of control in my life. The streets of Baltimore were tough. I even wrote a song about it later. Baltimore born. I was. Assaulted many times in street fights. Bar fights. I never lost, but did have to run a few times. Growing up getting picked on all the time and then living in these streets, I wanted to be the best fighter around. So I found a guy teaching martial arts. I was always getting pushed around in school up until around 10th grade, until I started working out and stopped taking shit. But I wanted to be totally confident in any situation. Melissa's brother-in-law was a black belt, and a real badass. A clean cut. Don't fuck with me kind of guy. He had a friend in South Baltimore where we lived who taught martial arts. He introduced me to the instructor. I got to know the guy, and he talked me into it. So, I signed up and started studying Sai Wing Chun, tiger crane mantis-style martial arts. 3 classes in, the instructor, now my friend outside of class, started preaching about street fighting. Never underestimate a street fighter. Trained fighters think rules exist. Street fighters just want you gone. Some cocky green belt coughed out, "Bullshit." A 20-ish stocky guy with a few years of training under his belt. Instructor grinned. "Let me show you." He called me up, told me to step into the ring. No pads, no rules. Paired me with green belt. I think his name was Alex. "Alex, take the new guy down," the sensei said. "But this guy has no training, sensei," Alex said in an overconfident, cocky tone. "Then it should be no problem for you, grasshopper," sensei said jokingly. The guy strutted up, perfect stance, bouncing like Bruce Lee. He lunged with a fancy grab. I ducked low, thinking just don't let him kick you. Then I drove my shoulder into his gut, twisted, and slammed an elbow under his chin, spun around, and took him to the ground in a sleeper hold. Yeah, I did wrestle some in junior high, and I remembered some stuff. The illegal stuff. He dropped to the ground, clutching his face, in a full sleeper hold ready to take a nap. Class went silent. Instructor shouted, "Break." Now you know class. Me, half-shocked, released green belt. Lesson. Technique's cute, but raw determination and power wins in the real world. The motorcycle theft. Yank back at the dealer's front door. Age 18. 18. Me. Ripped from lifting heavy in martial arts. At 160 pounds. Anger and fury at 6. 2-0. I felt unbreakable. I had a '74 Honda MT 250 Elsinore. It was a street/off-road motorcycle and a gift to me from Dan. He used to ride it to work and even had it stolen once from him from our front yard. It was one of my favorite possessions. One morning I woke up, heading to the shop. I opened the front door, and it was gone. Stolen from right in front of my South Baltimore row home. I asked around. News spreads fast, and I get a hit. A buddy of my brother-in-law says, the word is a local drug dealer everyone knew but no one fucked with took it. His house is down a side street, a broken-down porch sagging, windows boarded half-assed. Jerry and I grab the truck, head on over, and there it is, my motorcycle parked right in the front yard like a trophy. The front door is open, light spilling out. Two thugs outside hanging on the railing, smoking, scanning. I don't hesitate. I pull up hard and fast in the van. Tires chirp, park right in front like we own the place. I hop out. Jerry Baker, my brother-in-law, is right behind me. He thinks I am suicidal, but he is. Loyal. I nod at the bike, grab it. Jerry rolls it quickly towards the van. I walk straight in the open door. The two guys follow shouting, but I'm not listening, just watching for someone to make a move. Dealer looks up from the couch, surprised, not scared yet. Guys freeze. Air thick with tension. That bike's mine. Touch my shit again, and I will kill you and your crew. His guys don't twitch. After a brief stare down, I back out quickly, hop in the van, and never look back. Jerry says, "You are one crazy asshole." A week later, middle of the night, someone is banging on my front door. I open the door and I see roaring flames. My box truck is melting, flames reaching the top of the row houses. Glass in the neighbor's house cracking their screen door was melting. The neighbors were pissed. They hated me parking my big truck in front of their house. Fire trucks pull up, put the fire out. The fire chief walks up, asks, "Is this your truck?" "It was," I said. "Well, looks like someone threw Molotovs through the box truck window. Piss anyone off lately?" As the smoldering, wet, burnt-out shell of a truck was loaded on the flatbed. I knew then. My time in South Baltimore was about over. I needed more than I could get from this city. I needed space and opportunities. I needed to distance myself from this chaos. Leaving South Baltimore and married life behind. Marriage was taking its toll. Melissa was tied to her mom's apron strings in ways I couldn't imagine. After the truck explosion, we tried moving out of Baltimore, but that lasted about a month. I was working for Dad then. I had closed my cabinet shop. The economy was shifting. Laminate cabinets were becoming outdated, and I was not set up for fine cabinetry work. Besides, I wanted to get into bigger construction. I was interested in building houses and buildings that I could drive by years later and say, "I built that." We moved to a small house in Glen Burnie, across from BWI Airport, about a mile from Dan's house where I was raised. Melissa's sister Kim moved in with her new baby. One night, the baby wouldn't sleep. Up all night screaming. Melissa and her sister yapping away. Me lying there wondering if this was my true destination. No kids yet, but Melissa was pushing to go back to South Baltimore, while I was trying to get a new life started away from that city. Morning came. I overslept. I was supposed to be up early. I was working with Dan, and today I was a no-show. Dan pulled up to our house, banged on the door, out of control. I answered. Shouting match erupted. He stormed out. Melissa screaming she wants to move back to her mother's, baby wailing in the background, her sister pacing back and forth. It was an insane situation. Dan calmed down, and I went to work that day. Don't remember much more. I knew our life wasn't going to work out. I wanted success, travel, experiences. She wanted to stay close to her mother. One day I just said, "Pack your things. I'm taking you back to your mother's house." No arguments, no fighting. She packed. I dropped her off. Separated. newly separated, and Brooklyn reset. After I broke it off with Melissa, I needed to find a new home, a new place, a new home base. I was still working with Dad, but branching out in other directions. The Glen Burnie house was going to be torn down, so needed some new digs. I rented an apartment with Ray in Brooklyn. The apartment was nice, not fancy, still has some roaches, and it was in the worst part of Brooklyn. A 2-bedroom unit on the top floor of a row house, top of the stairs, first right. Ray and I fixed the place up nice. It was clean. I had a killer stereo, fully stacked JVC system, a large screen projector TV, basic furniture, 2 beds, couch, table. Everything a guy needed back then. The Dawn Payne breakout, picking up the runaway, early 20s. Dawn Payne was the first girl I ever really loved. Deeper, harder, more reckless than anything I'd felt with Melissa. She was messy in all the ways I understood too well. Complicated family drama, walls built high, the kind of chaos that mirrors your own and pulls you in like gravity. I was a moth, and she was the flame. No surprise we burned bright and fast. I met her at the mall one afternoon, cruising with Dennis. We were still tight even after I'd stolen his girl and married her. Life's weird that way. We were wandering the shops, hitting the food court, scoping girls like it was a hobby. Then I saw Dawn standing with another girl near the fountain. She caught my eye instantly. Beautiful in a real unpolished way. Not rail thin like the magazine girls, but curved and soft in all the places I liked. Long reddish blonde hair that caught the fluorescent lights. Face like she'd stepped off a daytime soap opera. Something about her looked both untouchable and desperate for someone to see her. I found the nerve. Walked over. Said something dumb that made her laugh. Got her number before we even knew each other's last names. A few calls turned into mall meetups, stolen hours between shifts. That's when she told me the truth. She wasn't just grounded. She was locked up in a girls' home reform school. Group home. Whatever you want to call it. Parents had her on lockdown. No visitors. No freedom. Especially no me. They didn't know me. Didn't want to. And made it crystal clear I wasn't welcome anywhere near their daughter. We didn't care. We made it work the only way kids that age know how. Secret payphone calls when the house monitors weren't listening. Notes passed through friends. Coded messages that felt like spy shit. Every time we talked, it felt like stealing time from the world. Young, dumb, and completely hooked. Then came the night everything changed. The payphone rang late. Her voice on the other end, shaking with excitement and fear. I'm out. I did it. Come get me. Please. No hesitation. I grabbed the keys to my new Ford Escort, yelled to Ray that I was heading out. He looked at me like I was crazy, then grabbed his jacket. I'm going with you. We floored it to the spot she'd described, a back road near Annapolis, close to the Good Shepherd place, heart pounding the whole drive, half expecting headlights to flash behind us any second. Cops, parents, whoever. The night was black. No moon. Just the dashboard glow and the hum of tires on asphalt. We pulled up slow, killed the headlights. There she was in the shadows. Jeans, hoodie, backpack slung over one shoulder. She sprinted toward the car, threw herself in the back seat, breathless, laughing like we'd just robbed a bank. I climbed out the window, she gasped, ran through the woods, thought my heart was gonna explode. I pull out, windows down, cool night air rushing in like freedom itself. She told the story between laughs, scaling the wall, dodging security lights, branches whipping her face. Adrenaline had us all buzzing. Ray in the back seat grinning like an idiot, radio low, my hand finding her leg in the dark. For those 20 minutes cruising back to the apartment, it felt like we'd beaten the system. One perfect night where the world was ours. No rules, no cages. Then red and blue lights filled the rear view. I was speeding, just a little but enough. Heart dropped into my stomach. Cop pulled us over. I rolled the window down, handed over my license, trying to play it cool. Don's info crackled over his radio. APB for a runaway minor. She froze. I started talking loud over the static, bullshitting about directions to some fake address, asking questions about the road, anything to drown out the dispatch. The cop turned his radio volume down, gave me a long look, then handed the license back. "Slow it down," he said. No ticket. No questions. He let us go. Note to self: if you're doing stuff illegal, riding dirty, I think they say in today's lingo, do the speed limit. Luckiest night of my life. We made it back to the apartment. Crashed hard. Dawn fell asleep next to me. Finally safe. Breathing steady. I sat there in the dark watching her, thinking maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. It didn't. Her parents found out fast, cut her off completely. No calls, no visits, no contact. They moved her to a place even further away. No cell phones back then. I had no way to reach her. Whatever door we'd cracked open slammed shut. That one night of pure adrenaline, breaking her out, outrunning the cops, feeling invincible, turned into the memory of what could have been. Reality hit like it always does. The Dawn Payne abortion bomb. Dawn's parents had made it clear from the jump. They hated me without ever meeting me. They didn't know my name, my story, or a single thing about who I was. All they saw was a threat. Some street kid pulling their daughter deeper into the mess they were trying to control. So they kept her locked away like a prisoner in that group home. No visitors, no phone calls without supervision, no life outside their rules. Especially no me. Then the bomb dropped. She was pregnant. Or at least that's what the story was. I never got to hear it from her lips until years later, after the breakout night, after that one perfect adrenaline-fueled escape. They cut contact cold. No more stolen calls. No more notes. No more anything. Dawn vanished from my world like she'd never been there. In my head, we were still together, still fighting the same fight, still holding on. Reality didn't care what my head thought, and time was passing fast. A letter arrived one day, addressed in her father's tight, angry handwriting. It felt heavy before I even opened it, like it carried weight that paper shouldn't have. Dawn was pregnant, and inside were abortion papers, official forms, clinic receipts, signatures. She was pregnant, and they made her do it. No discussion. No phone call to me. No chance for her to tell me herself. Just a cold demand at the bottom. Pay for it. I sat on the edge of my mattress in that roach-infested apartment, staring at the pages until the words blurred. My stomach twisted into knots. Rage hit first, hot and immediate. How dare this asshole decide for both of us? How dare he erase what might have been my kid without a single conversation? Then the rage gave way to something heavier, a gut-drop realization that Dawn had gone through it alone. Scared, probably hating me for not being there, even though I had no idea. No chance to talk, no way to hear her side. Just silence. And these fucking papers. I wrote back the same day. No check, no apology. Just straight words on notebook paper. I would never pay for an abortion of my child. I can't believe you did this to her. I need to speak to Dawn. Mailed it. Waited. Nothing came back. Not a reply. Not a call. Not even a fuck you note. Just silence that stretched into months, then years. We'd already broken up right before the letter arrived. Timing so cruel it felt personal. I'd met Amy Aziz in the meantime, someone I could actually see, touch, hold without sneaking around walls and rules. Dawn was impossible now. Her father had made damn sure of that. The letter stayed in a drawer for years. Every time I opened it looking for something else, it stared back at me. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled it out, carried it to the sink, lit a match, and watched it burn. The flames ate the paper fast, curling the edges black. It wasn't guilt that made me do it. It was anger. Anger at her parents for stealing our choices. Anger at myself for not fighting harder, for not finding a way through their walls. Anger at a world that lets adults crush kids like it's nothing. That was the first time I truly understood how love gets crushed when someone else thinks they own it. No happy ending. No closure. Just a scar that still itches when I think about it too long. Years later, Dawn and I reconnected for one incredible conversation. Raw, honest, shocking in ways I didn't expect. But back then, it was over. Done. Buried under silence and ashes. That scar comes back in the story later, because the unbelievable parts are the ones that hurt the most. And they're the ones that shaped me into someone who never lets anyone decide my path again. Ray's debt and the apartment gun incident. Ray had dug himself into some serious trouble. He was working with me and had got behind on a scooter loan, the kind of debt that doesn't quietly go away when you miss payments. The people he owed weren't the type to send polite reminder letters. They sent muscle. Yes, you heard correct. They send thugs to collect for a $147 Honda scooter payment. It happened on one of those normal nights that turns ugly fast. We were just chilling in the apartment. It was late, dark out when the noise started outside. Heavy boots, metal crunching, glass shattering. They were out in the alley jumping on my car, smashing the windshield, boots stomping dents into the hood, and doors like they were personally offended by the vehicle. Then the front door got kicked in. Two guys stormed through. Big, loud, wired, screaming about wanting money right now. Faces red, veins popping. The whole "you're gonna pay tonight" routine. Ray froze for half a second. They started towards my stereo, said something about taking it for the payment. I stepped right between them. And my shit, barehanded, heart slamming so hard I swear they could hear it across the room. They saw me standing there blocking, and one of them grinned. Ugly. And mean. "Heard about you. Got something for you." I immediately figured he was going for a gun. Ray ducked into the bedroom, came back out holding his rifle. No hesitation, no speech, no warning. He just pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening in that small apartment. Bullet punched straight through the wall into the neighbor lady's place next door. Turned out later it was a hair trigger thing. Basically, an accidental discharge. But in that split second, it felt like Ray was coming out of that bedroom, guns blazing. The thugs scattered like someone flipped on every light in the world at once, cursing, stumbling, falling over each other, trying to get out the door and into the yard. Sirens were already screaming in the background. Cops rolled up fast, took one look at the kicked-in door, the smashed car outside, the fresh bullet hole. Ray still holding the rifle, and cuffed him. I found out only recently that later, they charged him with attempted murder. Later, Ray told me that court was surprisingly quick and clean once the whole story came out. They barged in. They threatened violence. They broke into our home. Judge looked at the situation and basically said, "What did you think was going to happen?" Charges dropped. Straight up castle doctrine. You force your way into someone's place looking to hurt people. You lose the right to complain when the homeowner answers with deadly force. That gunshot through the wall was the event that finally woke me up all the way. I needed to get away from this city once and for all. The apartment, the street, the whole damn scene. It had turned poisonous. I knew right then I couldn't stay another night. I called Amy that same evening. Told her I was coming over. Packed the few things that actually mattered and moved into her parents' house to get my head above water for a minute. Amy Aziz. Chaos and the Hammerjack's meltdown. Amy and I had been together maybe a few months at that point. She was full-on metalhead. Cool as hell, ran with a wild crowd, sexy in that sharp, dangerous way that makes your brain short-circuit. Definitely felt like she was out of my league, but for whatever reason, she was with me. Parties at Hammerjack's that started at midnight and bled straight into sunrise. Music so loud it rattled your teeth. The kind of energy that made regular life feel like slow motion. Me? I was busting my ass as a contractor doing projects for the construction company her mom worked for and trying to keep up with her nightlife. When Amy and I started dating, her mom hired me on as a contractor for the company she was managing. It was actually a nice gig. Small enough I could run jobs with 1 or 2 guys and make decent cash, and I was working as the subject matter expert on their other projects. Amy was deep in the party life. Cocaine, heavy drinking, staying out till the birds were singing. Probably cheating, too. I could feel it even when I couldn't prove it. I rented my own apartment in Pikesville to have some breathing room. Jerry Baker, my brother-in-law, same guy who helped me yank the motorcycle back in the day, moved in after he split from his wife, Kim, Melissa's sister. Needed a place. We made it work. I remember when we moved in, I was into dragons. I guess the whole martial arts thing got me hooked. I had a small collections of dragon figures, and I decided to paint one on the wall of the living room one evening. I had some black and red spray paint, so I painted a huge 6-foot dragon on the wall. It looked really cool, but it sticks in my head, because when I moved out, there was a $200 fee for painting over large dragon, deducted from my security deposit. From local bag work to Olympic tryouts. And why I said no. While I was dating Amy and crashing in that Pikesville apartment with Jerry, I needed somewhere solid to train. South Baltimore had been hit or miss after I moved out. Gyms came and went, partners flaked, and I was itching for consistency. So I started hitting up a local spot nearby. Nothing fancy, just a no-frills place with heavy bags that didn't complain when you unloaded on them. I'd go in after work, wrap my hands, hit the bag until my shoulders burned, and spar whenever someone showed up who wasn't afraid to trade. After a few months of showing up consistently, the owner, a solid no-nonsense guy who'd clearly been around the block, pulled me aside one day. He asked the usual, how long I'd been training, where I came up, what my background was. I laid it out straight. Cy Wing Choo in Baltimore, street fights I never lost, the raw edges I'd sharpened on my own. He listened, nodded, said he was impressed with my footwork and power. Then he hit me with it. Would I consider practicing with his team? No pressure. Just come check it out. I didn't ask a ton of questions. Sounded like a step up. So I said yes. Saturday rolled around. I showed up early, trained hard with the group. Drills, pad work, the usual grind. At the end, they set up some light matches. He paired me with a guy about my size and build same reach, same energy. We went at it. He tagged me with a couple clean points early, but I found my rhythm. Landed a flying back kick that caught him clean, followed with some sharp body strikes that folded him a bit. Nothing flashy, just effective. The coach watched the whole thing, arms crossed, small grin. After the bell, he walked over, still sweating from calling rounds. You've got something, kid. How'd you feel about joining the Budweiser Olympic fight team? Turns out that's the squad I'd just trained with. Sponsored, competitive, aimed at bigger stages. Maybe even Olympic qualifier paths in those days, when brands like Budweiser backed amateur boxing and martial arts crews to build hype around Team USA. I was flattered. Hell, more than flattered. It felt like validation after years of scrapping in back alleys and dojos. But life was a mess right then. Amy and I were on the rocks, fighting more than we were talking. My divorce from Melissa wasn't even final yet. Papers dragging, lawyers eating cash I didn't have. I was hustling to start a new business, scraping by on construction gigs, trying to keep the lights on. There wasn't real money in the fight team. No big purses, no guaranteed paydays. Traveling to tournaments, covering entry fees, gear, all of it would have come out of pocket. I could fight here at home for free, build my skills without bleeding money I didn't have. So I thanked him, told him straight. I appreciated the offer, but I couldn't swing it right now. Too much chaos at home, too much on the line. He nodded. No hard feelings. Said the door was open if things changed. I walked out of there feeling a weird mix. Proud I'd impressed enough to get the ask, but grounded in the reality that survival came before glory. That offer stuck with me, though. A reminder that talent was there, waiting, if I ever got my life steady enough to chase it. For now, the streets and the grind were still calling the shots. Things with Amy were electric and fraying at the edges. I remember one day in the apartment I was hanging out with Amy and her best friend Becky. Becky was fun, a little JP, Jewish American princess type. She was cool, though. We got along. She was studying to be a phlebotomist. But she had a brother that dealt weed. He evidently had trash bags of it stored in their attic. Becky would steal weed from him, so she said. I had never done any drugs up until this point. I was about 20 years old at this time. Amy had been trying to get me to try drugs, or at least smoke some weed, so one day she left some at the apartment and said she was going to go shopping. She wanted me to try it while she was gone. I did. I smoked some of the weed she left, and honestly did not feel much. I did, however, eat a bowl of cereal with ice cream in it. That was one of my favorite snacks, so maybe I got the munchies. This started a long relationship with smoking weed. I found out it helped me focus, sleep, and put some of the bullshit of life aside. It may be the thing that saved me in the long run, kept me from becoming an alcoholic, a criminal, and a quitter. At the time, I think Amy was maybe messing around with Eric, the drummer from Rancid Decay. I found out later. Amy was just wild. She started throwing the word controlling at me whenever I would push back on the going out, drinking, drugs. The breakup came. One day she was at my apartment getting ready to go out that night. I did not want her to go out in the first place, but she was not having that. Then she finished doing her hair and needed a different shirt, so she grabs a towel and throws around her body and heads out to the car. I just thought this was bizarre. Why not put on one of my shirts? We argued back and forth. She was done. She broke it off right there. I may have followed her to her house, begging her not to break up with me. The end was clear to me at Hammerjack's, the bar where Amy and I spent a lot of time and where she felt like she owned the room. We'd broken up the day before. Ugly. Emotional. Her. She was just fine. Me, I was destroyed from it. It took me years to get over her. That night, I walked into Hammerjack's, knowing she would be there, and clearly cowing that going would only punish myself further. But I was still in love with her, still not ready to let go. And there she was, kissing some random guy at the bar, like the last year between us hadn't happened. Something snapped. I walked straight up, grabbed his hair, yanked his head back hard, and smashed his face down onto the bar top. Not too hard, but hard enough to get his attention. The guy spun around, ready to swing. Amy jumped between us, screaming to her new boy toy, "Don't do it, he'll kill you, just walk away." He hesitated, and I wanted to destroy this guy, this long-haired punk. But at the same time I felt sorry for him. She put him in a dangerous situation to test me, and I could have seriously hurt this boy. Bouncers swarmed, but I had already scattered into the night like a ghost. The breakup was inevitable, I should have known. I wasn't exciting enough for her world. Too serious, too grounded, too busy trying to build instead of burn. It crushed me, and I was feeling totally alone at this point. Working at her mom's company kept a personal link between us, but that had to end too. I stopped getting new projects from them, and so I started looking for other jobs. Spent weeks chasing bars, chasing distractions, chasing anything that would make the hurt quieter. Until one night at Hammerjack's, I met Cynthia. Something clicked. I started moving forward again. Amy was a hot, beautiful mess I barely managed to dodge. Fun as hell while it lasted. Edgy, rude, zero filter, pure chaos in the best and worst ways. She taught me that drugs, metal, bars, and heartbreak are not a foundation you can build a life on. That whole stretch. The snare drum arrest, quitting school, the motorcycle yank back, the gunshot through the wall, the bar fight. It was me learning in the hardest way possible. Your direction in life is determined by your choices. I learned early that if I did not change the choices in my life, then other people were going to choose my direction.